we can use understanding our astrology as a tool to direct our daily routines, how they impact our
Absolutely.
health, how they impact our
Mhm.
digestion, our motivation, and our nervous system. That nervous system dysregulation is actually one of the greatest causes of imbalance and dis-ease within the body. So,
Mhm.
what you said, looking at your opposite rising sign can
Mhm.
actually help you determine what your daily routine could be that could support you. Does that make sense? Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Disempowered or just feeling off in that way that we know when we're not connected to our flow, to light, to feeling our vitality. The opposite sign of your rising sign is going to offer you that balance. And it's a great way. It's called our rising sign because it's really like how we rise, it's how we meet every day. It's the part of us that really leads our chart. So when we're not in that place of feeling like we're not rising, we're stagnant, looking to the opposite sign of that is going to help you understand it.
I'm so excited to connect with you today. Maddie Murphy, everyone, someone who's got an incredible book that I haven't been able to put down, actually called In the Cosmic Zone. And it's so great to meet you. Welcome to Rooted in Wellness.
So lovely to be here. I'm already just such a fan of your energy and like the high vibe hostessing you bring. I feel so grounded and rooted already.
Amazing. I love that. Well, we're going to dive into so many things today. And what I really thought for my community that was relevant is this is a little bit of a shift in terms of what we typically think of as health and wellness. But
Mm.
this is actually a massive pillar of the overall picture of health that I grew up with.
Oh,
If you're familiar with Vedic healing or Vedic astrology or yogic culture, also, we actually consider astrology a big part of our journey. So we'll dive into all of that.
mm.
But I see you nodding your head,
I
yes.
love that. I love that.
So, to start off in this podcast, it's all about ancient wisdom in our modern world and how we can become more rooted in our health and ourselves. And I believe the inner wisdom that we all have to heal. So, today, I'm curious for you, what does it feel like for you to feel rooted? What are two or three things that help you feel rooted in who you are and like the knowing that you have?
So, speaking of, ancient wisdom, to me, one of the first things I do is taking a minute to check in the morning over my matcha, over my water, hopefully before my boys get up in the morning, and really checking in with where the moon is at. The moon and me have a very strong connection, as most women actually have a very strong connection to the moon. And it really helps me understand the sign that it's in, the phase that it is in, because I'm that person who has a little bit of a tricky time articulating my feelings and emotions because my mind is moving so fast. So I can tune in and say, okay, it's an Aries moon day. I do want to get after it, have some solo time, or it's a Pisces moon day. I need to feel a little bit more intuitive, a little more inward. So off the bat, and I think nothing is more ancient than checking in with the moon, right? Like how many generations of wisdom keepers and medicine people have guided people through doing that. So that's my first off the bat. Thing that always feels really special and intentional to me to start the day, and
Okay.
then being rooted, really being with my children or by myself, but especially with them, being in nature.
Mm.
We all know nature is medicine. It's like always reminding me of how, first of all, divinely designed we are. And that I watch nature and just like, oh, it just feels like always like a big breath of fresh air, literally, but also spiritually, metaphorically. And I always get this takeaway of like nature. I'm always in a rush. I'm a New Yorker. I'm a Virgo. I've had to learn to live a slow lifestyle, which does way better for me and my adrenals. And every time I look at nature, I'm like, she's not rushing her magic. Like, and neither should I. Like, can I just sit with that? And it really brings me here into the present moment. And
Yeah.
then the third thing, you know, any sort of daily movement as an act of devotion versus punishment. Coming off of, I grew up in the early 2000s with a lot of interesting, body image, diet culture stuff. So as you know, now I'm turning 40. The past 5, 7 years have really been about like, how can I move my body in a way that feels like this beautiful act of pouring into myself, whether that's yoga, walking, delicious, yummy stretch, going for a bike ride. When I can do those things, and it's funny because it's not like I do them all. There are days that I forget or
Yeah.
days in a row that I forget. I have 2 very young babies, and I'm like, "Why do I feel this way?" And I'm like, "Oh, come right back in." And these 3 things always hold, such a beautiful way of, like, anchoring me into
Mm.
myself, into my connection to others, the universe. So, yeah, those are my top 3, I would say.
Those are so beautiful. And I think you're the first person to use the word devotion to describe this. And I love it so much because these are all acts of devotion to self and to something greater around you. And honestly, Maddie, I love asking this question, whether you're a scientist, a doctor, an astrologer, whoever you are,
Yes.
whoever has answered has come back to practices that are generally free. And
Oh, my god, I love that.
And the reason I want to highlight that is, as you know, health and wellness, it's so complicated, it's overwhelming. We're stuck in this like trained generation to look for motives outside of us that are protocols or hardcore or expensive or that require a lot of energy. And yet every person talks about these kind of self-care, connection to nature, connection to spiritual scripts, connection to something that's greater than them to optimize their health. Like that's huge. So thank you so much for using that word. It inspired me. Now, on the flip side, um, considering what I just said, a lot of people are taking into account that wellness comes with a checklist. In order to feel their best, waking up with their children every day, they got to check off these things in order for them to be healthy or feel good. To the point that some people don't even notice that that checklist is actually the thing that's uprooting them. So, do you notice, are there certain things that happen in obviously your busy life that cause you to feel uprooted, and what are they?
Oh, absolutely, and such a good thing to be aware of, and we'll talk about it later, but one of the reasons I started getting into astrology was actually to try and find a more divine flow with my self-care instead of it being like, "Check, check, 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 check," because all of a sudden I was like, "Wait, I think my self-care is becoming stressful." But, for me, the uprooted energy, I can't be alone on this, but I instantly notice when I'm in an overconsumption, too much time on my screen, in the news, even things that are, Instagram, TikTok, things that can be entertaining. When I'm on them too long, I literally feel myself like leave my body and not in a cool, like meditative way, like a getting really in the anxious headspace. So yeah, the overconsumption, screens, news, it really, like, hijacks my nervous system. I can feel it right away. It disconnects me from my intuition and my creativity. Once I feel disconnected from my intuition and my creativity, I know something is wrong. Like, I'm
Yeah.
out. I'm out of that place that I like to be in. Um, Likewise, all these things have, probably, like, the over, um, prefix in them, but, overcommitting, and this was like, I love to do things. I love to help people. I love to say yes to things. But I really had to figure it out, sort of as a larger boundaries conversation I had to work through my life. It's like saying yes to everything is actually like just untenable. And also, I'm saying yes to certain things out of obligation or pressure or fear of missing out. And it wasn't really even fair. Some people saying yes to. So I've had to really learn about like not scattering my energy, really being like checking in with myself about my yeses and sort of, carrying myself from, as Oprah calls it, the disease to please, of like, it's okay to have a loving, no, I cannot do that. I have to pass right now. Right. And then I guess the biggest thing that kind of sums up all of this or that like informs it is just like leaving my body, ignoring my body's needs, right? Like the skipping meals, not staying hydrated, pushing through exhaustion when I want to sleep and I or rest and I feel myself sort of overriding the system. That's definitely the fastest way to get out of my
Yeah.
power, get out of my rootedness.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Gosh, overconsumption, overcommitting. This just applies to so many of us. And to my community listening, it's funny when we think about the pillars of wealth. The first call with my clients, they always want to know, Mona, what's the protocol? Tell me what to eat. Tell me how to exercise. And I'm always like, okay, hold up. We'll get there. You've tried that before and it hasn't worked. You're sitting here for that reason. So when we dig a little bit deeper, it's all of these things that are ultimately draining our energy every day that are the cause of our suffering and even the cause of imbalances. So I love that we're having this conversation to really pull back the lens a little bit on what it takes to be healthy and how
Mhm.
relevant it is. So, can you maybe share your journey into this world and the shift that you went through and why you decided or chose astrology, or maybe yet how it chose you?
How it chose me, I love that. I think as maybe a lot of people relate to, I had a natural curiosity growing up towards the sort of metaphysical, esoteric realms, and while simultaneously having a great or grand or big sense of purpose and a sense of wanting to help other people connect into that feeling of like magic. And I always knew I was here for a reason, but I just did not know how to articulate that, how to embody that, how to bring that out. And as we can imagine, traditional schooling and college and university, I just didn't really know like what does this look like? And I threw spaghetti at the wall in a lot of different industries and careers. But it wasn't until I was, in my late 20s and ready to like, be married, check, 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 check things off the list, had my career, had this, had that. And I had essentially like a crazy spiritual awakening where my body shut down. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I had been ignoring my intuition for a long time about a lot of things in life, in particular this moment of about to walk down the aisle with someone that I wasn't really like head over heels in love with, but I was just kind of doing the safe comfort zone sort of checklist. And that cracking wide open, it was so scary and I had no idea what I had done. The details of my life made no sense, but I felt really free. And I felt really empowered and really clear for the first time in a long time. And I was like, okay, I'm just kind of open now. Like, and I just kind of prayed a very desperate prayer of like, just show me my next yes. Show me my next yes. Like, show me the next thing that can get me out of bed. And I kind of realized that the days that I went to a donation base because I was very, very, I was very broke, a donation based yoga place in my neighborhood in the East Village. If I did that and treated myself to a green juice, um, physically, I could like move through the day because I was like, not so in such a place of overwhelm, or feeling depressed. But I also asked to like have signs and literally like an astrology book that I loved growing up from the new age store in my neighborhood literally fell off the shelves at this bookstore that I was in. And I was like, okay. So I picked it up, I returned to it, and I just started being like, oh, oh my God, that is so me. That is how I am this way. And instead of, I astrology really gave me this beautiful roadmap, this beautiful language, to come home to myself and to really
Mhm.
trust who I was in a way that, again, from being a little bit more in that people pleasing energy for, the up to almost 30 years of my life up to that point, I didn't even know who I was anymore. So
Yeah.
being physically in my body and then having astrology as a way of understanding my soul, my heart, it just was so expansive and equally so grounding to me.
Oh my gosh, that's powerful journey. And it really goes back to this concept of intuition, which I think so many people still roll their eyes at it. Yeah, yeah. But what if your intuition could be that powerful? What if there was this like sound of wisdom within you that you could just trust, right? From my clients, when I speak to them about this, about making decisions in their life, and my gosh, walking down the aisle, what a big decision. There's probably part of you that just like you knew intuitively it wasn't a full body, hands over head screaming yes. There's part of you that was, and what I'm learning more and more, maybe this comes with aging, for men and women. It's like if there's that bit of hesitation, can you trust it so much that It could mean a no. It's there to guide you and direct you, right? And this goes for
Mhm.
all aspects of health, whether it's a relationship,
Mhm.
choosing what foods to eat, when it comes to health optimization, you name it. So let's maybe pivot into this now. So when it comes to healing or
Yeah.
optimizing your health, everyone's so focused on biohacking tools or
Mhm.
longevity hacks, the words that I hate. No one equates no one equates self-growth or becoming your authentic self with health. And,
Mhm.
my story kind of similar. I had to really go back to something that felt really grounding for me to trust who I was. And then my health kind of fell into place. And then, even the idea of becoming a nutritionist, that door opened. So can you talk about why these two are so deeply rooted with each other? Becoming your authentic
Mhm.
self with your health that is part of our growth?
Absolutely, and I love this question because, again, like, I am similar to you of, like, the hack a biohack. I'm like, your health, your vibrancy, your life force isn't something to be hacked into. It's so, like
Uh,
it's so icky to me 'cause I'm like, well, you're on this journey of becoming, of remembering, of, like, filling in, like, who you are, who you're meant to be, and I think that when you are suppressing your authentic self, your body will literally feel the weight, the stress, the stagnancy, the dis-ease, the unease of that misalignment, and I think it manifests through inflammation, through burnout, through disconnection, and, in living in alignment and knowing your authentic self is also it's everything from, like you said, knowing, like, tuning in with your intuition, who you are, what do I want to eat this day, to who do I want to marry, to how do I want to live my life, and how do I really trust that. And I think I knew this intuitively. And but it wasn't until one of my teachers showed us an exercise when I was doing a shamanic training about, like, the meridians in your body, which obviously Chinese medicine, many different schools of medicine and wellness talk about this concept of meridians. And he had someone do sort of a muscle test of, like,
mhm,
telling a lie, right? Like, okay, my name's Maddie. Great, strong. My name's Mona. Ooh, weak, right? Like, okay, do you like this? Do you like that? And I really understood watching the weakness in my own body when I was saying something that wasn't in my truth or that was a no for me. I was like, oh, my meridians in my body, my energy is literally split. And that is how I felt when I was
mm,
living my life in my 20s. I felt that on a subtle level when I was said yes to that proposal, even though my whole body was screaming no. I started to feel that way. And anyone who's ever consciously been aware that they were living out of alignment or maybe even hiding a secret or hiding a part of themselves, it drains you in a way that manifests so physically that there's no green juice or supplement or workout routine that is going to make you feel 100% again until you own that.
mm. Yeah, and how many listeners are, maybe you're doing all the right things. You're drinking the green juice, you're going to yoga, you're eating the right foods, you're increasing your protein, but you're still waking up every day not feeling your best. We can't ignore this. Like, this is part of really understanding our authenticity. And you used a word that's part of my love language with my community, which is remembering. I think part of this process to
Mhm.
ultimate health span, vibrancy in life, aligning, manifesting what we want, is simply remembering the vibration that we came into this universe with. Once
Yeah.
you make that come alive again and peel back the layers of people pleasing, the disease to please other people, looking for accolades that, maybe you taught were taught that were important for
Yes.
success markers or whatever it is, right? It's like all of a sudden happiness lives there. And when you're in that state of happiness, it's not to say that life doesn't happen or hardship doesn't happen or, gosh, the world can be a dark place, but you're aligned with what is going to allow you to embody true health, right? So you talked about some symptoms, and I'm curious with the people that you work with, can you share maybe some of the symptoms that you see manifest, whether it's emotionally or physically or spiritually?
Absolutely, and it's actually one of my favorite things, because I do love playing kind of that, like, cosmic detective of, okay, we're feeling something, where does that connect, maybe to something emotionally going on? And well, actually, one of the first books that blew my mind was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life, but the, like, bonus, like, guide she made, so you can look up anything, like, I stubbed my toe, and it's like, I am not trusting my life's path, or, my teeth
Mhm.
hurt. I'm, not speaking my truth, and so I always have people first and foremost look that up, and it's part of working with me if there's something physically going on that, again, hasn't been able to be, you know that it's been recurring in their lives. But I would say the common denominators, a lot of people who come to me are, I would say, high performing people, creatives, executives, visionaries, thought leaders. People already have, wow, like they've checked off all of the like life resume things, right? Like the resume virtues in life.
Mhm.
And but there is something that's like missing there. So a lot of them have what I would say like a burnout, like an extreme fatigue or an exhaustion that no amount of sleep and rest is curing, because it's happening on the, I would say, spiritual soul level. That is definitely first and
Mhm.
foremost. Um, and secondly, I have actually worked with a lot of people who were very like inflamed and carrying a protective layer through weight, through something like, and this wasn't something that I ever sought out to help people with, but I just noticed a pattern of a lot of my clients, that I think that if you're an energetically sensitive person and you were told at some point in your life to either not trust that, or you weren't given the tools to work with that, whether it's you have intuitive abilities or you're just emotionally very open to the world, we will like literally create a protective layer around us that is like a level of inflammation or weight that again won't come off from any sort of level of working out or diet. um, when they learned how to protect their energy and have energetic hygiene and trust themselves, it just sort of like melted or shifted in a different way. So I would say that those are the two of the biggest symptoms. And then of course, like there's the anxiety, um, I would say like an anxiety that is sort of carries in
Yeah.
both of those fields of people just feeling like a buzzy feeling like they could never land in the present moment, that nothing's ever enough, that nothing they do is ever enough, nothing they say is ever enough, that there's something like a looming energy that's sort of
Mhm.
robbing them of the joy of their lives, even if things look fine on paper. I think those would be the three biggest ones.
And so relevant also. Um, Before I became a nutritionist, I used to teach yoga privately to a lot of people.
Mm,
I consider myself pretty empathetic, but I found myself often taking on symptoms of other people. I would leave with, for example, back pain, or leave with a headache, which are things that I wouldn't suffer with until I learned how to kind of cleanse
mm,
myself of that, or process or not take on other
mm,
people's pain. And I think as children are, they're empathetic. They're able to take on, they're able to learn so many things on how to process or not to process things around them. And it's a really interesting lens in terms of health, because how much have you been living with that was instilled within you? Or maybe someone taught you how to wear the lens of fatigue or wear the lens of anxiety, and it's become you.
yes.
And through the picture of health, like, what if you could just pull back from that? Like, for a moment, if you could imagine that
Mm,
your birthright actually every day is to wake up with optimal health, optimal happiness, um,
mm,
glass half full, everything is working out to your benefit. And even if you have to pretend for a second, just imagine if that was the truth. How many
mhm,
symptoms or imbalances are you living with that are actually fueling poor health that you could unlearn?
mm,
And it's worth the introspection, right? To just see how cyclically or energetically these things are fueling your fatigue, your water or fat retention, or your anxiety. And look, we've got all these, Louise Hay with her book, but also when we look at traditional Chinese medicine, or
mhm,
uh, in yoga, we have all these energetic centers. And
mm.
we've all heard or experienced or heard from someone who was able to meet either with an astrologer or some sort of a spiritual healer who could just look at them, or look at their tongue, or look at their eyes, or look at their body and say, "You're suffering with this. Go take care of your liver. It's your digestion." And
Mhm.
just by looking at your constitution. So, all to say that this is just so much more powerful than what to eat,
It's
how
so
to diet, how to
exactly,
exercise. Yeah.
right? Like, I just wanna say I love what you said about also permission. I think sometimes our brains are so powerful, but they're, sort of leading and our body is following. Where if we tune with our body first, what does our body need? Listen to that, and then allow our brains to take a break. The biggest practice for me was saying, "Brain, I love that you are literally the most powerful supercomputer. Like you are the original AI. Thank you for being this powerful." But like, actually, you don't need to look for a problem to solve in every single moment. Like, we're actually good. We're safe. Like that text message of something that was a little bit. That's actually I'm not in survival mode from that. I'm not in like we don't have to activate fight or flight. Like we're actually good. Thank you for doing your job, but you can chill out right now. Um, was such a big 'cause I never knew how to rest. It just wasn't ingrained in me.
Mm.
Like I grew up in a very hardworking family. So I was just always looking for a new problem to solve or someone to help or fix or something to go into that like fight or flight mode around. And so what you just shared, I mean, there's so much you just shared that was so like profound, but that I really went back to that moment when I had that aha of like, I can just wake up and be like, "I feel good," and that's safe for me to feel good right now.
I'm in my 40s, and I feel like I'm finally giving myself permission to do that now. Like, both of my parents were immigrants, so there wasn't the concept of rest. It was always work hard, work as hard as you can, get more,
Yep,
always have
yep.
goals, work towards something else, checking off things on our to-do lists. So I can resonate with that too. And it's like, gosh, we've given our brains so much control, but it's lying a lot. It's like keeping me anxious a lot. The wisdom is in our bodies. The wisdom is in our body.
Yeah.
All right. Something that you say that I absolutely love is that astrology is the ultimate wellness hack. How,
Mm.
in your mind, in your body, do you define how does astrology really help us understand our why behind our emotions and our triggers and our
Mm.
energy shifts?
I think, astrology has so many different uses and tools of it, but to me, it's like I said before, really about giving me a language for my energy and a way to really articulate my needs. Again,
Mm,
I'm the oldest daughter of 4 girls. I grew up like my parents were very, 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 scrappy, hardworking, both work for themselves. And I think I just was trained from a young age to be like, what do you need? What do you need? What do I do to help the household? What do I do to help this? How do I manage everyone's energy? And then all of a sudden, I go out in the world and I'm doing the same thing over and over again in my relationships, in my work. That when I talked about that sort of spiritual breakdown, breakthrough energy, it was like the first time that I just was like, okay, I've already disappointed a lot of people in my life. So now I might as well just kind of keep practicing that of like put everyone at bay a little bit and be like, who am I? What do I need?
mm,
And I think it's really easy to trivialize or downplay or even like demean our own needs sometimes, especially as women, or think that like certain things that we're really good at. Of course, everyone's good at that, right? So, like for example, in my chart, I just do need a lot of quiet time. I need time to dream, to create. I need sleep. I have a Pisces moon. This is just like black and white. The first astrology book I picked up, I was like, oh, okay, that's me. I'm a dreamer, but I'm very emotionally open and I need spiritual outlets. And like of course I knew that in some way my whole life, but I
mm.
really did not think, I went to a very traditional university where everyone was getting a business degree or going to work in PR, be an accountant. So I'm over there being like, yes, but I also am very overwhelmed energetically by life every day. And like, and there's no one that was like, yes, like that's very valid or like that I'm very cyclical in my work. Like, part of my birth chart is I'm ruled by the moon. So my energy, that's why I have to check in with it, is very different. There are days where everyone in my life is like, this girl is on one. Watch out. Like she can go, 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 go. And there's some days where I'm like, I'm big baby. I just don't know. I don't even remember who this girl was who wrote this book. Like
Mhm.
I'm so tired or I'm so emotional. And I've just learned through astrology to trust that instead of forcing my way and to be someone else, to act like someone else. And it's helped me articulate my needs for other people. It's helped me self-advocate. It's helped me put together a plan that's really like tailored to me, like a
Mm,
unique blueprint. And then I also like astrology because in terms of a wellness hack, there's a rhythm, there's a cycle happening around us at all times. We are not the same person
Mm.
throughout the year, throughout the week, throughout the day even, and you can look at astrology to I also had a big problem with internalizing everything. So if I was doing something and then a month later, I'd signed up for all these social commitments, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "I'm not really feeling that social, or I'm not feeling that inspired." I'd be like, "What's wrong with you? Work harder. You're not doing your things enough, right?" Instead, I'd be like, "Oh, no, this is just a time of the year that is more inwards. Maybe I shouldn't schedule a bunch of outward-facing events during that." So working with the astrology around me and the rhythms of the year, the lunar cycles, the zodiac seasons, help me externalize and be like, "Oh, okay," and contextualize my feelings and then help me map out my self-care, my business planning, my life planning, and all of a sudden, I felt like I talk about a hack. That is when I felt like I had a cheat code for the universe. I was like, "Oh," and then I'm looking around, I'm like, "Why are we all trying to do our New Year's intentions in a time of the year that is
Yeah.
absolutely not supportive for that at all?" And, and there's like a million examples of that. So I would say it's learning yourself in a way to articulate that in a way that is so powerful and empowering. And then it's also learning about like these beautiful cycles and rhythms and phases around us
Mm.
where we can live in more attunement with the universe and ourself instead of working against all of that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Attunement. Yeah, and really cheating the code of the universe, really having a cheat sheet for that. I think that just brings us closer to the feeling of alignment. And I feel the urge to bring this up because I know there's a lot of videos like on social media around, I'll call it just like the LA woo-woo lifestyle around like the moon and the stars and trusting in the universe. And it seems so woo-woo, ethereal, out there, eye roll. However, I know for all of our listeners who have ever had experienced time with an amazing astrologer like yourself, had a reading where there was just like a resonance of like,
Mm,
oh, how do you know? Right? Like that
yes.
is for me part of my astrology alignment
Yes.
literally has beauty in my charts, and I worked in the beauty industry for
Oh,
20 years, has food and nutrition in my charts, and here I am as a nutritionist. It's like how would this person know otherwise, right? And I think my ask to people too listening is if you haven't had that experience,
yeah.
now might be the time, because if you're looking to
Mm,
take the edge off of life and really understanding where you are in the season and this chapter, when things are going to shift, leaning on astrology a little bit gives you a deep sense of ease, as it did
mm,
with you. There's an understanding of the things that you need and why. When you start honoring that, everything shifts. Your physiology shifts, your nervous system starts to shift. So,
mm.
for our listeners who are curious but new to astrology, it can feel overwhelming. There's so many different places to go to know where to begin. What's the first piece of their birth chart that they should look at to understand their health or their energy patterns?
Such a good question. And yes, exactly like what you were just saying too. I think that if someone hasn't gotten their own reading, that can really be life changing. And even if, again, like the whole reading might be a lot of information, I would ask for a good, qualified, astrologer that you vibe with intuitively to walk you through. I'm going to start with one, but I'm going to give two recommendations. First, start with your moon sign. The moon sign for me is what opened up and changed my whole life. And I always say the best readings aren't going to give you a shock value twist. Like, what? It's like, oh, it's just going to be like the best affirmation. The best thing I love to hear in a reading is, "Oh my god, I've already been feeling into that. That's just the validation I needed. That's
Mm,
just the permission I needed." And I just want people to stop doubting their gifts and their light and their magic and just start doing them and sharing them with the world, right? And the moon sign, our sun sign is very important, and then we can talk about that later in the lens that I like to look at it through. But the moon sign is your inner world. It's your emotional world. Think about it like your inner child mixed with your emotional, command control center, and also your
mm,
intuitive, like Wi-Fi signal all in one. So sometimes our sun sign, we can feel like we relate to it, but there's a lot going on in the chart beyond that. But our moon sign is our inner. like how we're processing the world. And our moon sign is who is going to come out first and foremost when we are tense, tired, triggered, traumatized, or just plain hangry and and had a hard day, right? So being able to understand what our moon signs needs are, we
Mm,
can get ahead of that, right? We can be like, "Ooh, I'm starting to feel a little shaky." I always feel like it's like the tires in us, like, "Ooh, we're bumping along the highway. Can I what does my moon sign mean right now?" And also because it's that intuitive connection, when we start feeling that way, we could say, something," even though our mind is barreling through life 400 miles an hour, maybe our moon sign is actually picking up on something right now, and I should slow down, drop into some kind of self-care, and also, not only am I gonna feel better, but maybe I'm gonna get some information that's gonna help me make a way more
mm.
aligned and empowered decision.
It's so powerful, right? And in my mind, it's something that we can't deny. It's like the science of Ayurveda. It's been around for
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of years in terms of understanding, ourselves, the universe, planetary alignment, mathematics. Like it really is related to science, which I really admire. And I'm trying to think of my moon sign. I think my rising sign is Virgo. I'm the overthinker constantly. It's like, okay, a lot of it makes sense for me. So understanding your moon sign is where to start, everyone.
Yes, we're gonna start I know I should pull up your chart. If you wanna drop your information in the chat, I could tell you your moon sign because then we could just kind of put it into a little bit more of articulation. But even your rising sign being Virgo, that was the next thing I was gonna say is after you do your moon and you lock in and you spend some time with your moon, befriend your moon sign. Again,
Mhm.
this is ancient wisdom. Like this is things have been used for so long. And I actually like to tell people if you have a song or an artist that just makes you feel something so deep and powerful, look up their moon sign. It may be the
Mhm.
same as yours because we create these emotional connections with people with the same moon sign as us. Whereas your rising sign is a great way to understand your daily flow, what motivates you, how the world perceives you, how new opportunities and projects are going to sort of be magnetized into your field. And by working with your rising sign, you can really work on your aura, your riz, your charisma, but also understand that like that is leading your whole chart. So leaning into that is in a healthy,
Mhm.
conscious way going to be how you're more open to new opportunities in life and to feel really vibrant to attract them. But also, like you said, our rising sign can be where we can like tip the scales. So, looking at the opposite sign of your rising is how we can like bring that great seesaw back
Mhm.
into a place of neutrality. Like when we feel ourselves out of alignment, it's usually like you said, oh, my Virgo, Virgo rising is the helper, the healer. Virgo rising
I
is quite
love.
literally like the nutritionist, the one who brings down the magic and healing and makes it very physical and like helps us do things that are digestible in our health, like coaching us, mentoring us, and quite literally helps people in their digestion and living their like fullest, most radiant selves. But Virgo is a sign, that sometimes can get really too much in the details, too much into the overthinking. And there's nothing wrong with that because all of our biggest downfalls in life come from our biggest gifts, but just when they're just a little unchecked or we're not
Mhm.
using them consciously. So for you as a Virgo rising, sometimes when we feel in some kind of way disconnected, unrooted, ungrounded, just not in our power, for you, you might be like, let me go to the opposite sign of Virgo, which is Pisces. Let me
Mm.
drop into out of the weeds of the details into the 10,000-foot mystical perspective of my life again, right? Let me go play. Let me be imaginative. Let me even just do something, get a spiritual reading or spiritual self-care. I have chills even just saying this to be like,
Me
oh,
too.
right. Like, right? I have chills right now. It's like, oh, right. This is why I'm doing all this Virgo things. And then you're like, okay, you're recalibrated. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So this is one of those moments. I'm like, well, how do you know? How do you know that when I go back to the ashram, I have this like ethereal knowing that I'm grounded and the universe has my back and I feel this deep spiritual connection and knowing that everything's
Mm.
okay, but I've got to pluck myself out of my life and maybe my rising Virgo-ness to go and seek out those rituals. Like, Maddie, that's
Like,
huge.
my tagline, "If astrology isn't real, then why?" No, because even the stories I was telling about growing up, I'm a Cancer rising, so Cancer risings is we're very emotional, it's like the mother of the Zodiac, we just wanna give. I love family, I love making people feel like family, like, I love just, like, nurturing, taking care of, but what I had to realize in my life was the opposite sign is Capricorn. Capricorn is like the queen of boundaries. Capricorn is the queen of like, just structure and realizing that structure actually creates more room for flow, which took me a long time to figure out. So
Mm.
for me, when I locked into that opposite side of my rising, oh, I felt like the best gifts of my rising sign were actually able to come forward and I was able to lead and give from a place of overflow versus like lack and burnout.
Oh my gosh, I love it. It's like this synergy that happens with
Mhm.
everything, which is so important. And I point that out because even with health and optimization, we're looking for something that's like determined, getting there, arriving, having it be the same way all the time. But that's not a
Mhm.
reflection of nature. That's not a reflection of the universe or cosmos. Everything's
Yes.
evolving and moving. There's gifts in every part of it, and ultimately that
Mm.
allow our growth and our progress, right? And what I love hearing about this through your mind is ultimately we can use understanding our astrology as a tool to direct our daily routines, how they impact our
Absolutely.
health, how they impact our
Mhm.
digestion, our motivation, and our nervous system. So let's own in on the nervous system aspect of this, because you and
Mhm.
I, we kind of talked about this with our own personal story. I think everyone's nervous system right now is taking a little bit of
Yes.
intensity, right? And I think that nervous system dysregulation is actually one of the greatest causes of imbalance and dis-ease within the body. So,
Mhm.
what you said, looking at your opposite rising sign can
Mhm.
actually help you determine what your daily routine could be that could support you. Does that make sense? Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Like, when you feel yourself getting a little dysregulated or disconnected, right, or disempowered or just feeling off in that way that we know when we're not connected to our flow, to light, to feeling our vitality, the opposite sign of your rising sign is going to offer you that balance. And it's a great way. It's called our rising sign because it's really like how we rise, it's how we meet every day. It's the part of us that really leads our chart. So when we're not in that place of feeling like we're not rising, we're stagnant, looking to the opposite sign of that is going to help you understand it. And even in my book, I really wanted to write a book that was about the archetypal energy of each of these signs as a key that unlocks something. Because I think it's really easy to, and I do it. It's no hate, no shade. But when we hear a sign, we go to, oh, I had a boss. I had a boss that was a Capricorn. Oh, my neighbor was a Pisces. I can't be a Pisces. And I'm like, no, no, no. Outside of that person energy, there is an archetypal, ancient, universal language spoken through each of these signs that wants to open us up in some way. And we carry all 12 signs of the zodiac within us. They just want to be used in different ways. So, for that example, that's exactly it. And then also with the regulation, back to the moon sign. The moon sign is like our emotional metabolism. And it's like, okay, when we are tending to our moon, we can really understand how we can reduce stress, how we can get back to a place of feeling regulated. And then also, my favorite thing, one of my clients always talks about, and she does a lot of somatic and nervous system work. It's like regulated. And then their moon sign, we can become resilient because I think
Mhm.
sometimes in the health and wellness world, we have these conversations where it's like, oh, we're trying to become so regulated and so protected and so good with our boundaries. But it's like, but we still want to grow. And we still want to like, you know, invite in actually healthy challenges or life will bring them in whether we want them or not. But when
Mm.
our moon sign is regulated, our moon sign has more resiliency to either take those big leaps of faith and choose faith over fear, or just deal with the things that are happening in the world that we can't control, but we want to show up as our best self for, or whatever those big plot twist things are. And I think that operating on that like opposite of your rising sign and opposite sign in the day to day is important. But then your moon sign is what's going to help all of that feel like anchored and grounded in a place where you feel safe, secure, but also resilient.
My favorite word, and that's such a beautiful reflection. I love that you called out the archetypal things because, Maddie, I have a full on confession.
Yeah.
Don't judge me, but when I was conceiving, I was doing my best to not have a fire sign. I love fire signs. I adore fire signs. My best friend is a fire sign. But as a Cancer, I had the reflection growing up of a lot of fire signs where it was like that water fire. Don't judge me, please.
I'm
I'm sure there's
cracking up.
somebody.
No, I love this so much.
I know somebody else has done that too. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but what you're describing is that we're actually, it's like in Ayurveda, when we think about our doshas, you're not one or the other. We're all,
Right.
we all, our, our constitution is part of everything. We all embody
Mhm.
all doshas. We just tend to be a little bit more dominant to one or the other. There's an interconnectedness and oneness to all of it. So I
Mhm.
love that you broke that down because I think that does apply to how we're giving a stigma to certain archetypes and the way that it shouldn't, right?
Absolutely. I love that. I will say I won't name the sign, but one time I had I thought I was pregnant and I wasn't, and I was like, "Oh Lord, I don't know if I'm ready to raise a blank." I will I'm not gonna name the name, but so I know that feeling. But it's true, right? It's also true that like we carry all that within us. And I always say when someone has a really big issue with a sign in their life, I like to look in their chart, and chances are it makes a lot of sense. It's like, oh, because that's in the part of your chart where your shadow work exists
Yeah,
or where you
yeah.
have a deep wound, and you're actually going to keep attracting that energy until you learn to like embrace it and sit with it and transmute it in some kind of a way.
You got it. Yeah, I left a blank too for the specific sign. There's one
And
specific, but
it,
just
we're just like really diplomatic here.
yeah, exactly. I love everyone. I really do. And I love that you brought that up as well. Isn't this such a big part of spiritual education? Like the more that we try to avoid our obstacles or our way of being, it's like that is the thing that could lead to our greatest growth or evolution or sense of freedom. And I think in Kabbalah, they call it your tikkun. Your tikkun's going to keep showing up in front of you until you process it or embody it or just ask, why does this keep showing up for me? And so instead of trying to resist it, the embodiment is so key. And all I see right now is, Maddie, like if we talk about this concept of integrative healthcare, my vision for the future is that when you go to the doctor, in the doctor's appointment, you're meeting with an acupuncturist, a yoga
Ah,
therapist, a breathwork teacher, meditation consultant, somebody for longevity. And I think that astrology needs to be part of this now.
I mean, hello, I have chills. I do too. I feel like astrology in the doctor's office, astrology in the schools, again, not as this like reductive, like, okay, but it's just another piece of information, right? All of our wellness journeys, all of our journeys to living our most whole self, they're nuanced, right? And I think again, why I love a great acupuncture session, or like you said before, like Chinese medicine, reading the tongue. I love learning a new piece of information about myself because I'm just going through life. I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired. Oh, I've had an acupuncturist be like, after 2020, it was like, you're tired because there's a part of your heart center that is missing in person community. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, oh, so
Mm.
that became the priority for the next few months for me. And I felt that fatigue lift. And I was like, thank you. I love that information. And similarly, that's what astrology can do. And also, we didn't even get into it 'cause it's not my area, but there's a whole medical realm of astrology where every sign relates to a part of your body. And damn if it's not always true for me. If I'm going through a big life transit and I'm like, why is my like skin going through something? Or, and I'm like, oh, because my Libra part of myself is not being expressed fully right now. Or again, as a Virgo, it always comes back down to digestion for me. I'm always like, no matter what I'm doing, it's like the gut health is
Mhm.
always like rearing its head for me. And I'm like, at the time of this recording, we're going to these Pisces eclipses, and Pisces rules the feet. And like all these people in my life who have big changes coming up, they keep texting me, I stubbed my toe, I twisted this, I have that, I have a plantar fasciitis. And I'm like, okay, so I think that's the universe sending you a little signal through your body to work on some being grounded through the feet,
Yeah.
and also maybe, like, stepping in a new direction of trust, and everyone's like, "Well, that just read me for Phil," me knowing nothing what's happening. These are people I haven't talked to in a while, or maybe people on social media, and so I again, it's just another fun kind of toy and a treat and a cosmic breadcrumb the universe gives us in that real, like, medical astrology lens is another thing that I would love to see being used in a doctor's office.
Oh, girl, let's make that happen. That's amazing. And thank you for that reflection. So, all right, we're tuning into our astrology, our moon sign, our rising sign. We're understanding a little bit more how to map out our daily rituals so that we feel like we've got these natural cycles. And those days where or weeks or months where things feel good, they feel aligned. We are attuned to synchronicity and
Mhm.
manifestation and getting the right call at the right time. And our body feels great and our digestion is primed. And then things tend to
Mhm.
shift. And from my experience coaching others, it's always the like, what did I do? I'm doing something
Yeah.
wrong. It's something I need to fix. God, I fell off the wagon. I'm not healthy anymore. And it's like, no, 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 no. How about you live in sync with the cycles? So, can you give a tip for people then walking away from this? How can they go and maybe take this into and put it into action every day?
Oh, I love that. I love that so much because that's kind of what I was saying before about the internalizing. We are so quick to blame ourselves, to shame ourselves, like, "Oh, I lost that magic. I lost that like moment." And I think that one of my biggest takeaways from astrology is that we are just cyclical beings. Like we live in a society that because of the way it's built, because of capitalism, because of certain things, we're acting like a robot every day. Monday, 9 to 5, we do this. Go to sleep. Saturday, Sunday, reset. It's like, no, we are cyclical beings. And astrology is all this like reminder that we're in this golden spiral, like a grand medicine wheel of our life. Within the course of a month, we go through the moon phase, right?
Mm.
We go through the course of the year, it's our solar return, our solar revolution as with the sun, and we go through every sign in the zodiac. Like right now, we're in Virgo season. Then we'll go through Libra season. That's its own cycle. And then we go through much larger life cycles. Where you might be going through a Saturn cycle, that you're in a period of life that is about a little bit more facing challenges head on, but to help you elevate and grow and crack into that next level of your evolution. So first and foremost, just what you said of like, if you can and you can find a way to meet with an astrologer or do some self reading just so you don't internalize that is going to be my first thing, because you're not messing up, you're not off track. Chances are you're probably really on track in a way that you don't even realize. And then
Yeah.
when you realize that, you can realize the lesson out of that and what you're meant to integrate and embody for your soul's highest purpose, in my opinion. And then again, back to the day to day, I think what I started this podcast talking about was the check in with the moon. The moon work is the work. The moon is the fastest moving uh, luminary planet. She's not a planet, but a luminary. And in the course of a month, we travel through every single zodiac sign through the moon. So, like right
Hmm.
now, the moon is in Libra entering Scorpio. So our emotional world is going to move from the place of beauty and elegance and harmony and relational intelligence and diplomacy into Scorpio moon days can bring up a depth and intensity in us. They can bring up kind of craving going deeper. They can bring up a Scorpio moon day can also make us feel a little paranoid, a little jealous, a little these things. And again, the old me would have taken the bait on that and run with it and just let myself lead from a place of reacting versus responding consciously. And what we can do in that moon sign energy, there's apps out there, there's calendars you can get just to track the sign of the moon. And you can look up that archetypal energy you move through within a month. That will give you like some kind of emotional, like I do a podcast on this every week and people call it, it's like the emotional weather report. So you just know, okay, for today, this is how I might feel, and this is how I can best meet this day. This is the self care to hone in on. This is the stuff that's going to come up, but I probably shouldn't really even engage with it. Just let that wash over me. And again, I think that life, so much of it is just how you meet the day to day. right? Like, we
Mm.
have big dreams, big goals, big visions, big I love those big milestones in life, but, like, how we feel on the day to day and how we meet ourselves in that is, I think, what actually makes a rich and juicy and grounded life. So going back to the moon sign, like checking in with that every day will also help you maybe figure out some of the larger cycles and patterns you're in with more clarity and connection.
And do you have a resource that you trust? I mean, I want everyone to get your book in the cosmic zone, but in terms of a daily check-in, is there something that you felt really inspired to go to daily?
Yeah, so I again, there's great just like moon tracking apps. I go to astroseek.com. It has a free moon phase like tracker and you can just see for the month. So it'll pull up the month. It'll be like, okay, September. And I will write in my journal. The moon changes signs every 2.5 days. So I'll just be like,
Mm.
Libra to here, Scorpio to here. Um, there's an app, Moonly, Moonly, that is also free that you could track it on. And I have a podcast that comes out on Mondays, and I just do like the larger planetary weather report, but a moon report. Like, hey guys, Monday, Tuesday, this is the do's and don'ts. Tuesday, Wednesday, the do's and don'ts. But I think it is more than anything why it's so powerful is it's really committing to showing up for yourself, of realizing
Mm.
again that we are these cyclical beings, we experience different things. And when we allow ourselves to like embrace that versus trying to repress it,
Mm.
we can just show up with so much more tenderness, so much more appreciation, so much more awareness for our emotional selves.
That's exactly what it feels like. I feel like it's, turning down the dial, or turning down the volume on the intensity of life, and in a way, surrendering, like surrendering that there's something greater than yourself that's working itself out, that's constantly giving you nudges and directions and reflections and a way to act on, so that you can just trust and stay in that flow and just like take down some of that intensity. Because I don't know about you, and maybe through your community, are you getting the same reflection around 2025 that this is a very intense year? There is so much happening, evolution, things shutting down, things burning to the ground, things building. And although there's a sense of optimism, there's a sense of like new beginning, there's like also a sense of things ending and things not working and finally taking ownership of being done with a certain way of being or living, which isn't easy to do. It's the ultimate growth.
It's the ultimate growth. We are living in, just so everyone can also contextualize and not internalize, and like we're not making this up. We're not too sensitive. We're not crazy. Like the astrology of 2025 and 2026 are going to be astrology that we've never lived through, unprecedented times. And like we've been in a few unprecedented moments. 2020 was one of them, astrologically speaking. And it's all leading us to a beautiful rebirth or reimagining, but, like, anyone who's gone through birth, we know it's like birth isn't it's tuned to the womb, right? Like, we have to break so much down to be ready to build something new, and we are in it, and it is a it stops me in my tracks when I really, like, tune in and think about it. So, it's pivotal, it's revolutionary, it's exciting, but it also needs so much extra awareness and care and regulation and prioritizing like the things that you
Mhm.
really how you really want to be in the world and how you really want to show up, because I can get in the cycle of like worry, and it's not that I don't wanna pay attention to what's happening in the world. I absolutely and actively do, but I also wanna be aware of, like, am I showing up with more mistrust and cynicism and overwhelm and burnout? Or do I wanna show up with, for me and my community with, okay, like, resiliency and and the place of, being able to find creative new solutions and to see the good things that are happening in people and to save that own fire within me to be, part of I keep calling it the joyful reimagining of like where are we going? Not just like looking at what's not working. But I do just want to honor for everyone in terms of their nervous systems, in terms of their lives. Like If you feel like it's a lot right now, you're not imagining it. It is unprecedented, like beyond, beyond, beyond what we're living through right now.
We're in the birth canal. It's the feeling of
We're in the birth canal, exactly. We're like, "Ooh, it's very dark and kind of claustrophobic," and but, like, we're not in the coziness of the womb, but we're not out in the new world, like, where are we? Exactly.
Oh gosh, thank you for that. It's again, it's like it's hearing it from other people where it's just the permission to exhale, like, okay, it's not just me. Let's pull back on this. It's global. I'm not in this by myself. I'm not in it alone, but we can stick through it together.
Mm.
All right. We could probably spend, an entire podcast talking about the 12 archetypes, but can you give us just like an overview of understanding them to help us come back into balance?
Absolutely. So, in my study of astrology, I started to realize that each of these zodiac signs were just representative of an archetypal energy that I believe each and every one of us needs to live in our full expression. And because of our charts, we come in with sort of a natural programming or a predilection to live, is that the right word, to live in those signs, and we're really here to work on that. Like, wow, we came in, you and I came in with a lot of Virgo energy, which is why we're here doing what we do. It's very literal. um but we still have parts within us that are there. They might just be more dormant. And it's our beautiful job, invitation to awaken them and to see what they want to express within us. So we start off, and the whole story of the zodiac wheel is the story of our human evolution. It's Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the youngest sign. It leaps forward. It's spring equinox here in the northern hemisphere. And just like that, of the first bud shooting out of the earth is us, like, initiating cardinal fire. And so in my book, I talk about this as the why not me key. And it really helps us move from stagnation to empowered action, because all of us needs to have that reminder at some point in your life, whether you're on day one of a journey or whether you've been doing this for a minute. There's going to have something's going to happen in your life. We're going to have to give yourself that pep talk again. Like, instead of why me, who am I to do this? Why not me?
Hmm.
Go after it, get after it. Like, what lights your soul on fire? And then from there, the Taurus key, it's about the earth, it's about our five senses. Taurus wants us to connect to the outside world, especially through our own experience of it. So to eat well, to enjoy things that make us feel good, that help us feel embodied. And so for this key for me was, I am allowed to feel good. Can we just lead with pleasure over pressure? As we could tell, this was a key. I did not come into life with a lot of Taurus energy, but I've been a big student of it.
Hmm.
Um, and then that builds off into like the Gemini archetype, which Gemini is here to connect, to be curious, to learn about other people now throughout themselves, like outside of themselves, and to learn about relating. So in this book, my key for Gemini energy is, but why? Because I actually think one of the best things we can do in life is be curious and challenge some things for the status quo within us and our own mindset, but also ask people questions, learn, be curious, and that sort of opens up a realm of possibilities within us and around us that for me has been very powerful. And I think it helps us find our unique voice. I think so many heart-centered, beautiful people living on earth at this time have so much to share, but they think their voice has to sound a certain way or look a
Hmm.
certain way, or they have to show up in a certain way, right?
Yeah. Guilty.
So, guilty, guilty. But I mean, I'm also very meta. I had to bring myself through all these archetypes and these keys in the process of writing this book and promoting it. I've had to literally be like, okay, time for a fourth key pep talk, and y- I can keep going. I can try and be quick, but that's kind of the gist of the like
Yeah.
building off of them. And the fourth key is the Cancer key, which brings us home to ourself, which is, how do we feel safe in the world? How do we take up space with our needs? So that key is just, I need what I need, period. End of story. For so many of us, especially like I talked about, we look to take care of everyone else or pour out our energy, especially maybe as a currency for love and worthiness. And this chapter, this key is like, how do we give ourselves permission to just own our needs and put them forward, put them first? And then after we feel emotionally secure and safe, then the universe tells us the next key is the Leo key, which is I need to be seen. And this is probably one of the biggest like mic droppers when everyone comes to me to work on in some way, shape, or form is like curing that visibility wound. That so many of us feel it's either unsafe to be seen for who we are, or we've been told stories that it's like egoic or self centered, or that we just, I don't know, whatever it is, right? That we don't feel like that. You don't have to be someone who wants to sit center stage and build out a song, but you have, as part of, you used the word birthright before, part of each and every one of us, our birthright is to be witnessed for our light. And when we don't own that, we are really disconnected from our vitality, our life force, from our truth. So we go into that place of the Leo energy of I need to be seen. And I had to work on that one a lot as a Virgo, because Virgo, the next sign in the evolutionary aspect of the zodiac wheel, Virgo is all about wanting to help and to be of
Mm,
service. Virgo wants to help others, so we're not always connected to the Leo energy of being seen. So like
right.
we can already see and fill in as we're listening of like where we naturally kind of gravitate towards and where we might need a little bit more awareness and help. So the sixth key of Virgo is practice makes magic. And this is sort of a twofold one in that Virgo reminds us of the importance of our spiritual and health practices. And that's how we make magic in the world, by having those practices. But also, the side note, the play on words with that too, is that Virgo, we have to release the perfectionism. We have to choose progress and movement over feeling that analysis paralysis that comes from trying to show up perfectly on day one, right? Like we don't show up day one with the diploma, the degree. We have to start somewhere. And Virgo reminds us that if we just keep showing up for something with
Mm,
consistency, eventually we will be in that place of magic, right? But we can't wait till we're ready. We can't wait till it's
mm.
perfect.
Practice makes magic. That just feels good.
It just feels good, right? And that was and I tell a little personal story in every chapter because that was a big one for me. As a Virgo, I have gotten in my own way so much trying to show up perfectly, doing everything right day one, or being in that place of comparing my day one to someone else's day 1,000 or 10,000. And then as we move there, the first six keys in the zodiac wheel are very much about yourself and your personal development. And then as we move into key seven, 7 through 12, you're really looking at the outside world and who
Mm,
are we in that. And key seven is we can create harmony. It's the Libra key. And it teaches us so much about how to call in more conscious relationships and how to meet those relationships and how to keep them, ameliorate them, make them better. And also, like on a larger scale, of like we can create harmony in this world if we just tap into certain things within us, I believe. And there's some keys in there, there's some tips in there that I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone. It's not a money back guarantee, but there has been some weddings that have come out of the seventh key. Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm
love
gonna
it.
do a humble brag on the seventh key. Um, and then, after we go into that place of connection, key eight is the Scorpio key, which is ultimately around vulnerability, around being open. But it's I will not be shamed. And I really wanted to write um, a key that was about taking your power back. But I didn't know how to articulate that because that's what Scorpio energy does. Scorpio energy transforms, transmutes, looks at all the things that no one else wants to look at or talk about and brings them into the light. And that's the alchemy that happens of like turning lead through pain, through into purpose, into light, into gold.
Mm,
So that was probably one of the hardest chapters to write because it forced me to kind of think about the times in my life where I was in a place of giving my power away and
mhm,
what was the journey to reclaiming that. And then Key 9 is Sagittarius. Experience is my inspiration about how we are here to live life, not just talk about it, read about it, but to go out, and also that our experience can be other people's inspiration, because Sagittarius is the storyteller. And I know, as someone who gets to talk to people all day long and share this beautiful medicine of this podcast in the world, how many times have you just been completely uplifted or inspired by hearing someone's story?
Always. Yeah, it's the best part.
Always,
Yeah.
right? I think we can look at our lives and wait for, again, like, I don't have the right diploma or the right degree to do this, that, and those things are important. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a path for those, but there's also something about just owning your story as the why behind why you want to do something or share something. And that leads into key 10, the Capricorn key, which is my life is my legacy, which is just a reminder. I think we need this. This is a lot for the new leadership we're calling in this world, is to lead with integrity. That, like, everything you do, every action you take, every word you speak, like, can you do that in integrity, in the feeling of wholeness from within you, where you're not looking to, abuse or misuse power, and that you're looking to remember that, like, what people are going to remember about you is the impact you had on how you made them feel, right? On the characteristics, the values that leave a positive ripple effect around you. And then the 11th key is the Aquarian key. The future is ours, and we are in a very Aquarian time for the next 20 years. And this key reminds us that we are here to disrupt the status quo, to march to the beat of our own drum, and to actually own all the parts of you that are different and a little bit off, from what you think the normal programming is, because that is how we want this revolution to be created, from a place of authenticity and the power of community, of, like, finding like-minded people like you, instead of thinking that you're, like, off in some um place where you're the only one who thinks this way or feels this way. It's like, actually, by flag like me being into astrology, if you told me I was doing this 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. That's so cringe. What are people going to think? But by me being like, hey, I really love astrology and I have all these thoughts about, like, past lives and parts of me, and crystals. And I have found a community of tens of thousands of people who make me feel so supported. And now we can galvanize and mobilize together. Right. And then the last key, the Pisces key, I trust, which is what we were talking about before. At all, the journey ends, like, right before the Aries sign of, going for it. Why not me? We have to surrender into the Pisces, like, place of trust, place of surrender, place of also remembering that we're not doing this
Mhm.
alone, that we actually have a lot of unseen support at our back through the universe, God, spirit, source, the divine, whatever we want to call it, that we're not in this alone. And that key always helps take that Virgo pressure off of me. Like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my things, my
Mhm.
practice makes magic, but I'm also so held. I'm so divinely protected and directed. And so that's the journey of the 12 keys. And we just go through that in a loop on life. Like, it's not a one-time ride, by the way.
Right, right. Thank you. I know it was a big ask taking us through that, but I wanted a point of entry for all of our
Yes.
listeners. And really, the reflection is just okay, listening to that, where might you consider yourself under expressing a certain part of
Yes.
yourself that maybe you could be open to help you bring more balance to your health, your
Mm,
hormones, your finances, your love, your relationships, your drive, your motivation, and just like everything. It really applies to whatever part of your life, whatever part of that wheel that you want to bring some energy or nourishment to. And
mm,
that's the exact reflection that I wanted. So thank you so much. And what I'm really taking away from this conversation with you and is ultimately like using this, it's like a merge of science and spirituality, right?
mm,
It's a tool that we can use to help us decide when the best time is to move into activation or when to rest, when to detox or
yes.
when to pursue a new goal, when to start something new or where to hold where you are, where to do the deeper work on where you need to grow or your insecurities, and maybe understanding like, hey, that doesn't define who you are. It's just part of your zodiac. And now's an opportunity for you to evolve. Use this as a lesson and go from there.
Mm.
Feels
Oh,
refreshing.
so perfectly said. I'm so happy this is being recorded because I'm like,
Yeah.
I am gonna listen to that, and that was a great, like, articulation, metabolism of this whole conversation because that's exactly how I feel. You just put it into really beautiful words.
Amazing. Part of your book that I absolutely love is all the embodiment practices that you include, because I think that's it. We're in an era right now where the more that we can become embodied to the wisdom and the intuition and the knowingness of our body, the more that we'll feel a sense of ease. So, if you should give our listeners just like one astrology based ritual or a journal prompt
Mhm.
or a mindset shift that they can start with, what would it be?
I love this. Yeah, so I really wanted to write a book that was about embodiment of these signs. And there's nothing wrong with it again, but those older astrology books that I was, drawn to when I was younger, that really felt like astrology that defines you. You are a Cancer, therefore you are sensitive. Okay, great. That's a great start. But I wanted to write an astrology book that aligned you. Like, okay, I have this, I feel this. By sitting with these practices, I can open up something within me. I can remember something and really like see that now I'm embodying that, what other wisdom, right, wants to appear or like bless me with something. So there's so many, practices in the book, but I will say that I guess I'm just gonna kind of go with my intuition here. We're doing a 28-day challenge with my community, and a lot of people have gotten a lot out of like one of the first practices, Hall of Flame practice. It's the Aries key. I think so many of us, again, if people listening are similar to myself, I talk about us. I'm like, I don't know, the heart centered people who are really sensitive and open and want to work on themselves. I feel like we can get in that place of being really hard on ourselves, or we kind of do get in that place of like, we see all the life can really become about all the things that aren't working well, that we're not showing up, we're not doing well, and we can really forget our light, our fire. And for me, my energy can get really soggy. I have a lot of earth, a lot of water in my chart. So I'm very intuitive and caring, but I can get a little bit like, so book opens up with a practice that I started actually when I was in college studying abroad that really changed my whole experience of life. And it's called the Hall of Flame. And you actively take at least 28 or 30 days to write down once a day something that just made you feel like fire. Like that was like you want to remember that. That is validating and justifying that
Mm.
the universe is working in your favor, that you are powerful, that you are a treasure, that you are a gem, that you offer something. And it could be a text from a friend that's like, "Thank you so much. You absolutely like, you know, big something big. Like you really saved my life last week by helping me out. Wow, Hall of Flame." It could be, "Damn, my butt looked so good in those jeans yesterday, and I just felt like I was on fire when I was in the grocery store, like, walking down the aisle." Or it can just be, like, a compliment, praise, or just a feeling of, like, "Wow, I went out today, I had a solo coffee date, and I sat in this cafe, and I just was like, life is so beautiful." And it's just this active, right? Our brain has this negativity bias, so we could have 100 things that we do amazing in a day. One thing bad happens, or we have one slip up or mess up, that's all we'll focus on for the next like 2 weeks. So it's this beautiful mindset practice of focusing on something good that happens, but it goes a little bit deeper. I like to say it's how we reclaim our like bad B energy, where we're like, oh, yeah, I am fire. Like, I forgot that I am a really cool, powerful, sexy, accomplished, caring person. And on the days that you don't feel that way, you just open up that Hall of Flame and just open to a random page and be like, oh, yeah, that is the real me. And I can get back to her, right? Even
Mm.
if I don't feel like it right now. So that's just kind of what came to mind. But there's so many in the book.
I love that. And this is something else I don't think is a coincidence. Well, one, yeah, the negativity bias is real, right? So I don't know what inspired this, but in my Rooted Academy for the month of September, we're actually starting morning pages to focus on that, to focus on gratitude. In the past 3 days, I've tested it out to see, all right, what am I asking these people to commit to? How long does it actually take? It
Yeah.
takes less than 10 minutes a day. And you know what,
Yeah.
Maddie? When I'm done, I'm showing up with my to my kids with a happy face. I feel more motivated to start my day. I feel a sense of ease. Like
Mm,
this practice is so, so powerful. So I love that you shared that because I love the Hall of Fire aspect also, so that
mm,
we remember all of the really incredible, beautiful things in life instead of getting stuck in all the hardship and what's not working. So thank you for sharing
mm.
that.
Oh, I love that. I love it's such an energy shift. I can see that just you talking about, like, it's amazing. Our minds are so powerful, but again, we
Yeah.
need to, like, check in with them often.
You got it. Maddie, I'm so happy with today. I've been smiling the entire time. Can you share with our audience where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about you?
Yes, so obviously, like, Instagram's always a good place to start. We're pretty active on there. Check the DMs. So the my brand is at the CosmicRx, and my personal is at I am Madi Murphy, MadiMurphy. And I would say start there, especially the CosmicRx. That's going to be a hub for you'll find we do a weekly free podcast that again has your energy weather for the week. We have a ton of free tools and blog posts and things for you to understand your chart. And then we do have a really cool online community where we work with manifesting with the moon and the book, in the Cosmic Zone, available wherever you get books. I really wanted this to be part love letter to all of those like beautiful heart centered. I call them my cosmic baddies out in the world who want to show up really beautifully for themselves, their family, and the collective. I wanted to feel like part permission slip, part pep talk, lots of practical magic, just to be like a little me, a little best friend, hype woman in your pocket.
I love it. I will always take a hype woman. You're so good at that. All right, we're going to link all of that out in the show notes. In closing, two really quick rapid fire questions. Tell me,
Okay.
what's your favorite ancient healing remedy?
Mm, ritual baths, like a
Mm,
good grounding ritual bath always
I
brings
love
me
that.
back.
No one's ever said that. I love that takeaway. All right, if you could leave our listeners with something that you are just so passionate about right now, what would it be?
Mm, I just, we've touched on this, but I just want to tell people I'm just trusting my intuition. Wherever someone's listening to this, you are not broken. You haven't messed up. You haven't gotten your life off track. If that's how you're feeling right now, you are just becoming. And I always keep disco balls around me everywhere I go because I think they're such a good reminder that we can feel like we're these
Yeah.
broken pieces, but with the right glue, with the right tool, with the right awareness, we're actually this marvelous, spectacular, sparkly ball of like pure party energy just waiting to be celebrated. And that's where I'll leave that.
Oh my God, that just made me. Ugh, I'm gonna go order a disco ball for my kids' room. Thank you so much for that. All right, Maddie, this is just the beginning. You're stuck with me. Thank you so much for today and for joining my community. I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.